So Kimberlee, another hot topic around our area lately has been emerald ash borer, or EAB for short. This is an invasive pest that came from Asia, got established in the Detroit area probably in the late 90s, and now it's present here in North Texas. It got spotted by a 10-year-old little naturalist out in northwest Fort Worth a couple of years ago, and there were a bunch of trees out there that were showing all the classic symptoms.
Yes.
Dieback in the canopy, thinning of the canopy, epicormic sprouts on the trunk.
Yes.
D-shaped exit holes.
Yes, the D-shaped exit holes, we were seeing the galleries, which are kind of like an S shape going back and forth, and when they're heavily infested, you can't really see the S shape because they've kind of crisscrossed all over each other. We were also seeing blonding on the trees where the woodpeckers were pecking at the wood so much that it actually changed the color of the bark because they were trying to get to the feast underneath, right? So we were seeing all sorts of things, and properties that are surrounding that have been hit pretty hard with EAB since. Dallas actually has a huge ash population, so does Denton. So both of those cities are actually taking action to try to prevent their trees from being affected by EAB. So they're taking those steps.
Well, the treatments that are available are not super inexpensive. So the cities aren't going to be able to treat all of their trees.
No.
I know some of the cities around that I've interacted with have already started proactively removing trees so that they don't get hit with a tidal wave of removals all at once, because they won't be able to handle that cost or the volume of work, because as we know, this bug is just on the upward swing here, and its population's going to peak, and we're going to have a lot of dead trees, and trees that are infested with this pest become very brittle and dangerous.
Yes, they do. So, if you can't afford the cost as far as treating goes, removing is probably a better option.
Right, because the worst thing would be to do nothing. You can treat the tree and protect it and save it, or you can remove it so that you don't have to deal with that later and the continuing cost of having to treat it on an every other year basis.
Yeah.
But if you do nothing, you're going to end up with a brittle, dangerous, dead or declining tree that's going to create a more expensive problem down the road. So it's here. We can't get rid of it. It's going to be here for a long time. So we're going to have to deal with it.
Yes.
What advice would you have for somebody that has a lot of trees, a lot of ash trees on a larger rural property?
So what I've been just letting my landowners know, especially in areas where I am trapping, or they're a county over from where we have a trap and we've detected EAB. I'm just letting them know. Just pay attention to our website and our information when we let people know, like, hey, we've detected it in this area. But I'm also telling them the signs that they can be looking out for, like the epicormic branching that you were mentioning, the canopy dieback, and so forth. So just telling them those symptoms, and I'm not necessarily telling them to remove their trees, because ash does play a very important role in our ecosystem, even if we don't necessarily always know what those roles are. They are very important.
Yes.
Everything has a purpose, right? So if they're not being affected yet, there's not any documented cases, I'm not just going out and telling them they need to remove them. But these are on bigger properties.
Right.
These are trees that aren't right next to their homes,
Right.
This is something like they're wanting to keep their ecosystem where they live healthy.
Right.
So
it can be a difficult pest to control because most of their life cycle is completed inside the tree, where topical sprays aren't going to get to them. So one of the most effective ways that we have to treat for this pest is with the actual trunk injection with a systemic insecticide that goes inside the tree. So when the pests feed on the tree, then they ingest that insecticide, and that's the best way to control them.
Yes, it is. Injecting your tree with a systemic insecticide, that is how you would get rid of those in your tree. The trick is actually knowing that they're there, right? A lot of times it takes a few years for your tree to be showing signs that it's infected with EAB.
Yes. So. And then there's also trees that are in what we call a splash zone of an infected area. And that's a radius of 15 or 20 miles?
About 15 miles. So if you're if you know that there's EAB in your area within about 15 miles, you might want to go ahead and treat.
Right.
So.
And that way you can protect your tree before the pests get there and start feeding on it and catch you off guard, because the trees can decline pretty quickly once they're infested.
Yes, most definitely. And, I will say if landowners or property owners are in an area that we haven't yet detected EAB or in a county and they suspect that they have EAB, please contact us at the Texas A&M Forest Service, because we'll come out. We try to collect either a larvae or an adult beetle and have it identified, and then we can confirm that EAB is now there in that county. So that's really important in helping us detect new areas.
Right. And this splash zone with all the new different areas that are getting detected has almost encompassed all of DFW now, with all the different locations that we spotted this pest.
Yes.
And so that's millions of homeowners and people in our area that are going to need to be on the lookout for this, and they should be aware that they've got an ash tree so that they can take proper steps and not get caught off guard.
Yes, knowing how to identify an ash tree is really important, in knowing if you even are at risk. And a lot of people in this area don't necessarily know they have ash. So if you aren't aware if you have ash, you're more than welcome to reach out to an arborist and or myself or another Texas A&M Forest Service employee, and we can help you identify that. Or you can go online and look up what an ash tree looks like. They're very distinct.
Yes, the compound leaves are pretty different from what our oaks and elms look like.
Yes, and they also have opposite branching, which is very different than the rest of, or majority of our trees. So majority of our trees have the alternate branching, which is this, versus opposite is right across. So it's very important to know that.
So Kimberlee, thanks for joining me here today. I had a really good time talking about trees and hearing your perspective.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it also. I think it was a very good conversation.
It was a lot of fun. I enjoyed having you here today. Hopefully we can do it again.
Yeah.
If you have any other questions about emerald ash borer, oak wilt, or any other tree problems that you might be having, please come see us at our website, treenewal.com, or give us a call to set up a consultation with one of our ISA certified arborists.